Jiro here for Umbra Games with a review of Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, exclusively for Nintendo Switch, released November 16th, 2018. There are actually two editions of this game, Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. I played Pikachu, thus that's the gameplay footage you'll see in this review, and the wife actually played through Eevee simultaneously. As usual with two editions of Pokemon, there are Pokemon of the 151 that are exclusive to one game or the other, requiring trades if you truly want to catch them all. Driving on the success of the Pokemon Go Altered Reality mobile game, this Pokemon game was a little bit difficult to understand at first what exactly it was going to be, and of course was panned the moment it was announced by many because it wasn't the next Pokemon Core series game on a console like hardcore fans were demanding. As a disclaimer, I'm personally not a fan of the Pokemon Go mobile game. I've seen people participate, but never actually played it. On the flip side, I finished every Pokemon Core title from Red and Blue to Sun and Moon, with Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon being the only set I have not. One reason for that is because they come out on a pretty relative frequency, with the main changes between games being how I can dress up my Pokemon or play mini-games or take them to a movie studio and make little cutscenes with them. And for those of you who are skeptical of picking up a Pokemon game in the first place, at the core series' roots is a pretty hardcore RPG, complete with elemental weaknesses and resistances, tons of characters to play that each level and most evolve as they get stronger. Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee is a reimagining of Red and Blue, which is actually kind of close to the third entry of Generation 1 called Pokemon Yellow, where you have a companion Pikachu following you around. In Let's Go, the titular Pokemon is the first one you get instead of the traditional starters Charmander, Squirtle, or Bulbasaur. The key difference between this and other core titles is that there's no more fighting of wild Pokemon. And not only that, but it's no longer a random encounter, but instead as you step into the tall grass, avatars of Pokemon in the area will appear, and you run into them, or they you, to engage in battle. Instead of pulling out Pokemon and using moves to weaken them before capture, you instead throw varying strengths of Pokeballs into the white circle, hoping for it to stick. The wild Pokemon will jump around, he or she will stop and swing at you, making the white circle disappear for a moment, and the chance of catching them seems completely random, despite the colored closing circle that's inside the white one. This inner circle changes color based on how much the Pokemon is likely to resist, and increasing ball powers from regular to great to ultra will increase your chances, getting you closer to green. You can also feed berries to the wild Pokemon, making it a bit more docile, or even lowering the difficulty to catch. When you catch a wild Pokemon, all of the ones in your party are awarded experience points and bonuses based on your various catching methods, like hitting your ball within that colored circle, the smaller the better, first time you caught that Pokemon, if they're tiny or huge, or if you did it on your first throw. You also have a catch combo if you can manage to catch multiple of the same Pokemon in a row that boosts experience. This also gives you a chance to obtain a stronger specimen, and word on the street is this is the way you catch shiny ones, although I've seen pics on Twitter where someone had to do a combo count of like 86 on the same Pokemon before the shiny one appeared, and that's something that's never really fascinated me all that much. Combat still plays a part though in Pokemon Let's Go, when you're sparring rival trainers that litter the routes between towns and caves and other dungeon-like locations. Here you start with your lead Pokemon and choose from their 4 moves to attack the opponent, hopefully hitting their weakness or at least not their resistance, until one or the other faints. As usual, you can switch to any other Pokemon in your party at the cost of a turn while in battle. Instead of a PC where Pokemon beyond the 6 get uploaded when you're catching in the wilds, you now have a Pokemon box in your inventory that can be sorted through and your party can be subbed in and out at any time. For additional Pokemon leveling, you can gain candy randomly during successful captures, but you can also choose to send duplicates of Pokemon you capture to Professor Oak, who will send you some candies in return. Candies come in specific stat flavors as well as specific Pokemon varieties, with Pikachu candies, for example, giving a 1-point boost to several stats at once when fed to Pikachu. As with the Generation 1 games, you still travel the island looking for the 8 themed Pokemon gyms to beat their leader and obtain a badge proving your worth to enter Victory Road and face the Elite Four. There's also the subplot of attempting to thwart Team Rocket's money-making, slave-trading schemes along the way. There are 4 legendary Pokemon to be caught as well, including the Bird Trio and Mewtwo. For legendaries and a few other situations, you do actually have to fight to take down the rival Pokemon until their HP bar is completely gone before going back to the ball-throwing minigame. After you finish the Elite Four the first round, a Master Trainer for every Pokemon spawns throughout the world, and you can fight them only by using the same Pokemon they do. So if you want some extra challenge and something to do, they've got you covered. You have a town map you can access from your inventory that shows you the various routes, and you do have a little freedom in what areas you want to tackle next. The core Pokemon games used hidden machines, or HMs, to deploy abilities to Pokemon who could use them in order to access new areas and routes on the map. For example, there's trees that block a path, and using the Chop HM on a compatible Pokemon allowed them to strike down the obstacle. Now that HM move always took up a move slot, of which a Pokemon only has 4 at a time, and since not all Pokemon can learn every HM, managing Pokemon that you maybe didn't want or didn't use frequently in battle was kind of a pain. Now the moves have been slightly renamed, and every time you meet someone to teach a move, your Pikachu or Eevee insist on learning it, so you never have to worry about managing HMs in Pokemon Let's Go. It's great. You do have the option to pet your companion and feed them to make it happy, and it does actually have an impact on battle, as when they're happy, they'll dodge occasional enemy attacks, or even cure their negative status effects. You can also have one Pokemon out of their ball at a time to walk beside you in the world, and sometimes you'll see an exclamation mark above their head, noting a hidden item or just some flavored text when you talk to them. Further, if it's a big Pokemon like Onix or Charizard, you'll actually ride them when they're out of their ball. One thing that I remembered from the original Red-Blue game was the Pokemon Safari. That was the only home for a few different Pokemon. The Safari has been turned into a Pokemon Go Park, where you can import Pokemon from your Pokemon Go account for use in the game. Keep in mind this only works one way though. You can't export any out, only import, if you care about such things. Now the wife and I both played with the Pokeball Plus, which is a controller shaped like a Pokeball, where the opening button is a small analog stick, and there's a B button on the red part on top. Third button is used in some menus, accessed by simply shaking the ball. Playing with the Switch docked, both with the ball or with the Joy-Cons, means motion control, trying to toss the ball at the appropriate angle to get inside the circles. While this worked fairly efficiently when the Pokemon was directly in front of you, it's another thing when they're moving from side to side. It's like there's a little bit of aim assist that moves with you, but not enough to make it not awkward as you try various angles throwing your wrist to the side. While I did play the entire game this way so that I could bring you footage, I did pop it into handheld mode, which was actually a bit nicer. Moving the screen with the sticks and simply pressing A is just a timing game instead of motion control to get the balls into the circle. Graphically, the game is bright and simple, perhaps a bit too simple, but we get to see some of the Pokemon animated like never before. The art style works well on the Switch handheld or docked to a 75-inch television. A lot of the trademark Pokemon noises haven't changed, amplified by them coming out of the ball controller when they're successfully captured. Control felt good most of the time, although with the ball controller you do have to watch your rotation of how you have it in your hand to make sure the red part is at the top to keep up being up, which can take a little bit of getting used to, and you're still probably going to make an occasional error. One place we both struggled though is the hit detection for jumping off a cliff or getting out of the water or falling down a hole. Feels like the trigger to make the action happen goes a decent perimeter around the object, when instead actually taking a second of continually pushing toward the ledge would have been a bit more manageable. Again, just something to be cautious about and learn to live with, at least it's consistent with every collision. It does seem like the game did drop some familiar features that were a bit more involved, that came in later Pokemon iterations, like the ability to breed Pokemon in the daycare, have them hold items in their hands, and things of that nature. So this is kind of a trip back to Generation 1 and the island we're adventuring on, but also the fact that we're back to the original 151 Pokemon and back to a simpler feature set. Now while I strongly dislike motion controls in most games personally, I do have a slightly, most likely unpopular opinion in that not having to fight the wild Pokemon was actually a pretty refreshing change for the series. Seemed much better paced, granted you're a bit limited in the grind by only having income from beating trainers and selling a few goods, and needing to pay the Pokemart to keep your upper level balls flowing. There are a few NPCs spread around the world that offer you more balls if you get low, but they're just the regular kind. Fighting every trainer, the Elite Four one round, seeing one of every Pokemon for the Pokedex, and capturing all legendaries still had the game over in about 35 or 36 hours, which to us felt about right. Instant trading at any point, not needing to find a specific mart or area to do it, made things more enjoyable as well. You do have the option to link battle and whatnot, but that's personally never been my thing. Oh yeah, and I think the only way you can actually get Mew number 150 in this game is having it come as a mystery gift with the purchase of the Pokeball Plus. Not sure if they changed that or will in the near future. Overall, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu is a fun revisit to the Generation 1 Pokemon game, with no wild Pokemon fights, which you're gonna like or you're not. A bit wonky on the motion controls for the capture though. Simple, colorful art style with some fun animations. No more Pokemon PC hassle. HMs are all on your partner Pokemon instead of managing them with multiple. A new candy system to improve your Pokemon. Oh, and I guess Pokemon Go interaction is a plus for some people as well. And if you compare to the most recent core Pokemon games, there are some features that aren't present. Rated as a turn-based role-playing game, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu. It's an 80 out of 100 on a true 0 to 100 scale, where 50 is an average score. This is Jiro for Umbra Games. Thanks for watching.